Everything exists in China. All cultures, including Judaism, including Islam, have all come to China, and they all been molded in this big Chinese cosmology that encompasses everything. Because that's the funny thing about this Tao and this Yin and this Yang. It has no borders. There's no in and out. It makes everything sacred. So you can expand it everywhere. Anything can find its place within this framework. So all foreign religions, if they want, of course, our Catholic missionaries didn't want that, but they could, of course. The Chinese emperor was ready to give them a small place in the palace where they could build a church next to the Buddhists, next to the Taoists, next to whoever was it. But that, of course, we didn't want, because we wanted to be soul recognized. Okay, we're not going to that now. But there's a place for everything. It brings everything in its big. So when I was a child, my parents used to tell me why we were not Catholic, but why we were Protestant. And that was something exclusive, that is the truth and our belief, that is exclusive. And certainly you couldn't be a Protestant and a Catholic at the same time, although I was very tempted when I was a young guy, because I loved Mass, I thought it was beautiful. But my parents, who were very liberal, that was really too much for them. And when I came to China, I found that I was trained as a Taoist master for 7 years. And they never asked me, my master never asked me to renounce to my faith. They assumed that as I was brought up a Protestant, I would remain a Protestant. And they saw I was trained as a Taoist master. I was initiated in all the secrets, in all the secret meditations, in all the things that you only get to know when you really serve your master for a long time. But they never asked me to renounce to my faith. They found that was none of their business and my private thing, and there was nothing incompatible by being a Christian and a Taoist at the same time. And then in the city where I lived in southern Taiwan, because Taiwan is a very, very, very special place, all this destruction we have talked about did not happen so much in Taiwan. So it was spared. So the traditional society could evolve more harmoniously to a modern society without these big traumatisms that have hit mainland China. Of course, Hong Kong did not go through too, but it was traumatized by British colonialism, very, very heavily so. But that was traditional society. And I saw that in the city where I lived in Thailand, there were about 100 temples, and some were Buddhist and some were Taoist, and there were also mosques, of course. And there were, of course, churches, because the Presbyterian Church of Scotland had sent their missionaries at the end of the 19th century, and they had built hospitals and Christian schools and Christian cemeteries and whatever you have. Well, there was no religious conflict at all. There was a society that for hundreds of years, different religions had lived side by side without any major conflict, and there was not, like we have in Europe, a Catholic quarter and a Protestant quarter, and then a Jewish quarter there, segregation. Didn't exist. And later in Beijing, I studied Beijing, there you had a huge city, and there were even more religions. And they just, for centuries, lived peacefully side by side. Because they have another notion of what we call orthodoxy. For us, orthodoxy is something exclusive. If you're an Orthodox Jew, you stick to that, and all the others is, don't want that. But in China, I can tell you by authority, orthodoxy is when everybody agrees that that is true, then it's orthodoxy. When there is a general consensus, then it's orthodox. And when you have your own opinion, that's not orthodox, you know. So it's quite the opposite. Huh? China is inclusive, and its cosmology and its philosophy is also inclusive. So what did that mean? Of course, it's a beautiful idea, but did that mean something really? It did. Because when I studied Beijing, in the ruins of all these temples, I tried to dig out all these old steely inscriptions and publish them. You know, Chinese temples have inscriptions, you know, with steles, with saying when the temple was founded and who gave money and why and so on. Huh? So these are very precious documents. And I found steely inscriptions, for instance, in one of the major Taoist monasteries. Still exists, the Beijing, the White Cloud Monastery. There's a steely inscription of about 150 years ago. You know what it says? It says, we faithful, not the monks themselves, but people who were faithful, that adhere to the temple, we have created an association in order to worship the Buddhist deity Guan Yin at the adjacent Buddhist monastery. And why we do that? Because we want to show our friendship and our good neighborhood thing. When this deity has her birthday, we want to go and play theater and bring offerings. So everybody gives money, and then we have this association to do that. Imagine that the Mormon church in Utah has a special chapter in order to collect funds to help the Catholic Church next door to embellish itself. You know, it's about that, you know. Well, it happened. It can happen. It's not necessary that people always fight. And China had this, for centuries, this kind of religious peace because of their definition of what is orthodox. That is something that everybody shares.